Hi, I'm James Walker, Senior Editor at Data Center Knowledge, coming to you live from the news desk at Data Center World 2025 in Washington, DC. I'm here with Dave Bell, Vice President of Data Center and Microgrid Development at VoltaGrid. Dave leads the strategic deployment of clean, reliable energy solutions for industrial clients and utilities. With a track record of delivering multi-terawatt hours of power, Dave plays a key role in enhancing grid resilience and operational continuity. Dave, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have some time to learn more about what VoltaGrid has been working on and your thoughts on the industry. As many people will know, power is one of the biggest challenges facing the industry today. And you previously described how rapid energy supply and demand changes impacts not just data centers, but nearly every industry. What factors are driving this widespread shift?
Well, I think there's a huge, I guess there's a huge movement to try to electrify everything, right? So there's a whole aspect of, well, if we can electrify it, so we're taking large drives and what used to run on gaseous engines or something like that in the past, what they're trying to do is electrify those large drives. So whether it's the mining industry or if it's even the oil and gas industry electrifying things, so you're having that whole demand side growing at the same time.
Right.
And at the exact same time, what you're having is the supply curve is changing. So if you have to think about it in the last 20 years, it's only been the last 7 or 10 years that the actual demand for electricity has been going up.
Okay, right. And why is the traditional utility model struggling to keep pace with these fast evolving power needs across multiple sectors?
Yeah, so most people, when they think about it as the constraint on the generation side of things, and that's partially true.
Yeah.
There is a lack of capacity in that generation, and that energy mix has been changing and evolving, where it used to be 100% like a firm energy supply like coal, natural gas, and there's more renewables moving into that.
Yeah.
And that's all true, but really I think the biggest gap is in the transmission of the energy.
Okay.
So you have to get it from the power plant to a large power consumer in the transmission lines and getting those built. On average right now, that's taking 14 years in the United States to build those. Yeah.
Okay. And as energy demands evolve rapidly, what's the risk for organizations relying solely on traditional grid-based power solutions?
Yeah, I would say speed to market. I mean, especially if we're talking data center world right now, and this is where we're at. The rush to AI, the president's announced it. They're going to win the race to AI. Getting speed to market is going to be the most difficult thing. So if you're waiting on the utility in order to do so, that might take you a little bit longer than if you were to find your own power supply and kind of be in control of your own destiny.
Okay, that's great. And along with AI, microgrids have been a hot topic in the industry over recent months for sure. And just to bring everyone up to speed, could you explain what a microgrid is and why they're gaining attention?
There's a lot of, there's a lot of different opinions on this, and so I'll just give you mine, and I am not the vicar of what is the definition of a microgrid, but the reality is if you, in my opinion, is a self-sustaining source of energy that no longer needs the transmission of the electron and the distribution of the electron to get to the source. So if you think of the traditional grid, you have the power plant, the transmission system, and then you also have the distribution of that power. So you're right at the source of where the power is being, the power source is at the demand source.
Okay, right. And moving on from that, how are firm energy microgrids positioned to address these broader industry challenges beyond just the data center space?
Yeah, so for example, right now, when you look at it in a data center aspect, we could build a 50 megawatt facility in less than a quarter, right? Wow. And so we could have that up and running and delivered power. So I think that's the best way we could do it, is speed to market, ensuring that the customer's having that. The other part of that is it's going to be as clean from a power supply, right? Not just from an environmental supply, but also the cleanliness of the power that's going to the data center. And then there's also the emissions factor. So if you take in the account of the whole grid of the United States, there's a 5% of line losses across that transmission system that have to get affected. So you're actually reducing the NOx emissions and the SO2 emissions by doing the power plant at source if you're doing it responsibly.
Yeah, and I guess the system itself is more efficient
Yeah.
with less loss.
That's right. So less line losses, you're more efficient, and you're getting a better result at the end result.
Okay, fantastic. And I guess if you could get your crystal ball out and looking ahead to, say, the next 5 years, how different do you see power delivery to data centers and industrial sites becoming? And I guess where does VoltaGrid fit into that vision?
Yeah, so we're kind of leading that charge where we're trying to figure out, I think you're going to see a lot more. There's a couple things going on, but you're going to see a lot more of this behind the meter for the data center market. And I think you're also going to look at longer contracts. So right now we're in a bridge situation where we're trying to figure out how to bridge the utility can come to us.
Yeah.
But I think what's also happening is you're having, like, the inflation on the utility grid is greater than the consumer price index currently right now.
Wow, okay.
And so we actually might become cheaper than the grid itself eventually.
Wow.
Right. So we want to make sure that we're using we're using the right supply of gas. So we're not creating a demand curve that's going to create the gas price to go up. Right. And we do it responsibly. But I think that there's a real play where it might be more economical to just stay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we're here at Data Center World 2025, and from my perspective, the show just seems to get bigger and bigger every year. How's your week at the event been? Have there been any key sessions or customer conversations or technology trends that have stood out to you?
Yeah, anytime I can hear NVIDIA talk about what they're building out, or I can listen to Bill Kleiman and listen to what they're dividing and talking to some of the other leaders in the industry. You know, I know that they just announced Christian with the Lifetime Achievement Award. You know, this guy has got years of experience, and what we can learn from each other, from the new generation to the other people that can input. I love taking that time and just learning in general.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. Dave, thank you for sharing your insights. It's clear that the way we generate and deliver power is at a turning point, and it'll be really interesting to see how organizations such as VoltaGrid help shape the next chapter. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.